So now that we know that China is the one moving the chess pieces across the board, we have to ask ourselves one very simple question. What would we as United States citizens have to do to destroy ourselves? What would we have to do to fail? Well, it's very, very simple. We create the most divisive, disintegrating culture of all time, which leads us to the culture war. Our politicians have been bought and paid for by the Chinese Communist government, all due to greed and envy. Our politicians are not looking out for the best of the United States citizens. They're out there to take advantage of getting rich themselves. They truly do not see us as citizens of the United States. What's the best way to control us? Very easily, pulling us apart at the two extremes. Because the majority of the people, we all reside within the central area of politics. But there are always going to be your most divisive groups on either side. And you can see it with the current culture war, whether it be wokeism, whether it be feminism, whether it be neo-Nazis, whether it be communism, whether it be this socialism drive, whether it be white supremacy, whether it be any of these other groups that are out there, they're all being focused on to force us to divide. Because when we're divided, we're easier to conquer. Most people don't see this. They don't see this. They don't understand this. They continue to dial into their CNN, their MSNBC, their Fox News. Now, those particular organizations, they're going to drive us apart. They are very divisive. They are divisive on purpose because it gets the clicks. The whole reason they want us to be divided is to be easily controlled. That brings us into one of our biggest flashpoints, left versus right. What has caused this whole left versus right thing? The majority of the people do not support any of these extreme entities on either side of the actual political aisle. So why are we being pulled apart and forced to fight each other? Well, it all comes down to one very simple thing: social media. We are going through a technological expansion unlike that of any other time frame. Technology is increasing at such an extreme speed that the human brain is not able to keep up with it. But nefarious actors inside of politics have taken advantage of this because they know they can control us. They know they can control what products we purchase, what advertisements we see, what stocks we invest in, what jobs we take, what political leanings we support, which cultural aspects we actually want to live on and grow. Unfortunately, they know this. They are forcing us into an area where we have no choice. They're literally taking away our ability to vote and literally taking away our ability to elect leaders that actually care about the people. These elections have become so manipulated that all you have to do is blast something out on social media against somebody, and that'll sway thousands and thousands of votes. So it's very easy. If you're more left-leaning, you pollute the left-leaning individuals with only left-leaning theory. Force them to see only left, only left, only left, until you drive them more and more and more to the left extreme. It's the same thing with the right. If you're more right-leaning, more conservative, blast you with more conservative, blast you with more right-leaning, blast you with more of that, until guess what? You're now on the extreme right. They have forced us as the American people to choose left or right. Here's the most sadistic thing of all time. That sadistic thing is very, very simple. Most of the politicians, they don't care about left or right. They're all in it for profit. They follow the corporate god. Whatever the corporate god says is what they're going to follow, because that's where the financial gods, that's where the banking gods, that's where corporatism is taking us, because we have corporate communism. Corporate entities with dictators that rule over a slave class, leading to expanded profits. Those expanded profits go to fill politicians' pockets. When those expanded pockets get into office, they're only going to want more. They're going to want fatter pockets. They're not going to want to give a crap about the U.S. citizen. They want to enrich themselves, because human nature is naturally envious. It is naturally greedy. We naturally have all 7 deadly sins incorporated inside of each and every single one of us. We can't help it. It is a thing that exists because that is human nature. So naturally, these politicians are going to get a taste of power. They're going to get a taste of financial expansion, and they're going to continue to drive into that because that's what they want. They want more power, more wealth, more prominence, more status. The easiest way to do that is to force the American people into the two extreme camps, which is going to lead to an extreme explosion and potentially another civil war, all in the name of political greed and corruption. And why is that? It is because politicians are parasites. Fundamentally, politicians are parasites. They are human beings that do not have the ability to actually contribute to society, so naturally what they have to do is convince other people that they know the right answer. Most of these politicians are very good at doing that because a parasite will try its best to ensure that the host never knows that it's sucking the life out of that host. Guess what? We're the host. The 80% of us that have to live day to day are the host. And these politicians are sucking us dry. You can see it in taxes. You can see it in the election cycles. You can see it in the things they support, the people they promote, and the job opportunities that they destroy. These parasites want us to be enslaved and indentured to their way of thinking because they're smarter than us. They know more than us. They don't know why we think that we need freedom. And human nature is naturally going to strive towards freedom. I know that's why I want to become wealthy, because I want to strive towards freedom. But I don't want to destroy the United States to do it. But these individuals and politicians, they're parasites. They have to suck the blood out of the body in order to enrich themselves. And when it all comes down to it, and the United States does go into civil war, it'll be just like the first American Civil War, sitting on a hilltop watching the excess males fight it out. Because it'll be funny how culturally everything will shift back to the way that reality is. Women will go back to the household because there'll be no more bullshit jobs for them to be taxed and destroyed with and enslaved with. Men will have to fight the bloodiest war we've ever fought because there'll be too many of us. There'll be too many excess males for the system to be able to support. So what do they have to do? They have to kill us off. It's what's happening in China. It's what's happening in India. It's what's happening all across the world. There are too many excess males. And unfortunately, this is what hypergamy has dictated, because hypergamy has taken over the society. Only a certain number of males are required in order to continue the human population. So most of us are expendable. And that's how these politicians view us. Expendable. They don't see us as real people. They see us as expendable entities that they can use to increase their profits. Just look at anyone in government contracting. And I know it because I see it on a daily basis. Wars are started to enrich them, which enriches the politicians, which enriches any of the contractors, and I take advantage of that too. A war will inevitably cause more weapons, more death, and more destruction. Maybe I'm a hypocrite for saying this, but I have to say it because it's out there and it's visible. No one will talk about these things. So somebody has to take a stand. So that's what I'm doing here. And once these wars are over, these civil wars, these culture wars are over, how do you think they're going to replace us in the jobs? Here comes AI and robotics. AI and robotics will replace the average excess male. AI and robotics will replace the female office worker because most of these personnel-related jobs can be done in a spreadsheet. Most of these personnel-related jobs can be done by an AI. Most of these labor jobs can be done by a male, but can be replaced by robotics in some near future, which requires the expansion of AI. Why is the world changing? Because technology is changing at such a rapid pace that we don't know how to adapt to it. And unfortunately, the culture war is driving us to that. That's why the expansion of wokeism, that's why the expansion of any of these other ideologies that I can't talk about on YouTube are being brought up. They're being proposed. They're being influenced all over the social media networks. They're being influenced all over the social media networks so that we have to see it. So that every day we have to see something that we don't agree with to A, drive us apart, like I stated earlier, B, get us to have to fight each other to reduce the excess male population, and C, to create more slaves. Because that is what the politicians want. That is what the corporate entities that are these evildoers want. This is what the banks want. They want to move back to imperialism. They want to move back to feudalism because we're moving into neo-feudalism. There will be a king and there will be subordinates. There will be lords, ladies, and slaves. Serfs is what you would call them. That's what they're trying to move us back to, because that is where we go in a cyclic nature almost every 100 years. And unfortunately, the United States has stood in the way far too long of this system actually coming true, because the American dream allowed all men and all women to become equals, allowed us all a chance to sit on the throne. But they don't want that. They don't want it. They don't need it. So they're going to bring in their AIs. They're going to bring in their robotics because they're easier to control. They're going to eliminate us excess, and they're going to force women back into the household reproductive roles. That's what they're going to do. If you don't see it, you're blind, because this is what has happened for all of human history. Now, there are certain things in the culture war that can help us, the citizen. That is cryptocurrency. Cryptocurrency is a way that we can actually reset the system, that we can actually control the currency, that we can take the power away from those who are in charge right now, gathering as many US dollars and investments as humanly possible, being paid off and corrupt. Because what cryptocurrency allows is it allows proof of work. Now, that's something that Ethereum is a huge component of. Naturally, the politicians are fighting it. Naturally, the banks are fighting it because it allows the United States to become a true free society again. No one wants this in those levels. It is only us that are talking about these things that want this, because we all want a chance on the throne. We all want the chance to enrich our families. We don't want some corrupt leader ruling over us like a lord, lady, king, or queen. We moved away from that. That was the American dream. We've moved so far away from it thanks to this divisive culture that we have and this culture war that's been going on. It might be very difficult to rebound from it. It might be very difficult to rebound from that. It might be very difficult to rebound from that. And there's nothing that we can do about it until we're willing to take a stand. So that's why everyone who is below this 1% level needs to focus on investing in crypto. Make crypto our global currency, because then we truly have control of what goes on in the United States. We control what goes on in the world. It won't matter what government you have, because at the end of the day, did you prove your work? Well, sorry, you didn't prove your work. You don't get paid. That is the way we control it. That is how we enforce term limits with our congressional members and our Senate members. That is how we enforce that the president is following the opinions of the people. It is how we take advantage and make sure that the United States principles that we were founded on stay alive and thrive. So cryptocurrency is going to become one of those flashpoints that politicians are going to be attacking in 2024, but it's only going to make it stronger, because as people start to realize and start to wake up, we're going to force our way into something that we actually trust. And that is not our politicians. That is not the Chinese government. That is not the Russian government. That is not the UN. That is not any of the entities that are out there trying to prove themselves trustworthy, but only for their own enrichment. Unfortunately, what does that mean? It means we're going to go into a recession, because the fighting is going to cause an internal recession unlike any other, which is going to cause more inflation to come on, because when the recession hits right before election season, I will call it now, they are going to turn the money printer back on. Once the money printer is turned back on, inflation is going to go rampant. So anyone who is invested in the cryptocurrencies, in stock markets, in real estate, are going to see wealth beyond their wildest dreams. Everyone else is going to be left behind. Everyone else is going to be left in slavery. They're going to have to be eliminated somehow, because that is what the 1% really needs. They don't need an excess population rising up and threatening their rule. What does that mean for us? That means that the economy is going to change. That means we're going to see more of the slave economy, not less.